From the unexplained to the mundane, come join us on a journey to the fringe. Hello and welcome to Journey to the Fringe, where you guys need to know sometimes it is passion that fuels, every time pretty much it's passion that fuels this podcast, but every now and then it's something that needs to be covered by this podcast, and it gets put right front and center for an episode that we need to do. I told Chelsea about 36 hours ago, this is the episode I am doing, and I'm starting the script, and by gosh, I got this script. It is ready to go, and I am so excited for this.
I thought it was shorter than that, but I'm interested to see where this is gonna go. I have no idea, I can't even guess.
Well, I'm gonna start it off, Chelsea. I was reading the book, and I came across this quote. Most Bigfoot witnesses, if genitalia is noticed at all, report males. And reading this, I was suddenly struck with inspiration.
Oh my
Chelsea,
God.
How have we not done cryptid genitals as an episode?
I don't know how you're even gonna do this as an episode, but I'm excited.
I am staring at 12 pages of script right now. And the second half is gonna throw you for a loop that you had no idea.
I'm already intrigued by your opening quote, because most are males, hey?
Yeah, I'm gonna get into some of that too, yes.
Before you start, are we going to be that podcast that specializes in cryptid genitalia?
You know what? I don't actually think it's out there from what I was able to gather in my research for this episode. So we actually are likely. And I think this goes as far back as our first Mothman episode or Moth Person episode that we have really stressed that genitalia is not noticed or talked about enough in these things for everything being gendered in the frickin' cryptid world. In the weird fringe.
This is incredible. So if you see us in the future, it might be with cryptid genitalia specialists sprawled under our image.
You know what? Boy, if I ever end up on a documentary, I really hope they at least discuss how it's going to be in there. But it is likely why we're on there.
Yeah. I need a name tag with this on it. Okay. I'm too excited now. I'm going to add it
since
to the
dawn of time, humanity has always been talking about strange things in genitals. Some of the first art we have dates back 42,000 years and is dick-shaped. And the oldest known cave paintings featuring vulva representations are from the Chauvet Pont d'Arc cave in France, dating back approximately 40,000 years. So of course, if we are seeing weird stuff, someone has to be seeing their genitals.
Yeah.
And at this point, from doing the research, I have to call a few people out. The BFRO, Lon Strickler, nothing comes back on your web pages when you search penis on the page or genitals. And I find that just clearly incorrect.
You have to ask if you're being any sort of good reporter, I would think. And did you see the genitals?
Yeah, it has to be something that's talked about. And it clearly is at some point, but it's so brief and such a taboo topic that it gets skipped over a lot.
Yeah.
And even Hammerson Peters, your research here is lacking. I can't tell you at this point, but there's glaring omissions in this realm on your website, and it seems pretty probable you're avoiding the topic based on what I know you know.
You think he
this
knows
will
a
be
lot
apparent
about
by
it.
the end.
Okay. Okay. That's surprising.
I know this feels like a joke, and it will definitely be played up as such at parts in this episode, but this is just a discussion of a part of the body, and if you want to catalog a phenomenon, you can't just avoid veiny genitals that are swinging right in front of you.
Veiny.
Now, without much more, let's just dive headfirst into this. And
Okay.
Chelsea, of course, we gotta start with the most obvious and famous genitals in the fringe community, and that is Patty.
Yes, that's the first one that came to mind when you said mostly males. Because Patty's supposed to be a female.
Yes, and that's actually what we're going to be talking about. Now, I'm sure people know of the Patterson Gimlin footage, but I still have to go over a bit. Just because
that's a good idea.
I think it's only vaguely come up in a few episodes before. Now, Roger Patterson developed a fascination with Bigfoot after reading Ivan T. Sanderson's 1959 True magazine article and later Sanderson's 1961 book, Abominable Snowmen, Legends Come to Life. Patterson began visiting Bluff Creek, California in the early 1960s, where reports of large footprint had stirred a local interest. By 1964, he had seen fresh tracks himself, which deepened his conviction that the creature was real, and in October of 1967, Patterson and his friend Bob Gimlin set out on horseback along Bluff Creek, a tributary to the Klamath River in Northern California, hoping to find evidence of Bigfoot. On October 20th, they encountered a large, hair-covered figure walking upright near the creek. Patterson quickly dismounted and filmed the creature, later nicknamed Patty, as it moved away from them. The resulting 59-second footage became the most famous alleged Bigfoot sighting in history. Afterwards, the film was shown to the media and researchers, sparking decades of debate. Supporters pointed to the creature's gait and proportions as non-human, while skeptics argued it was a man in a costume, despite numerous analyses and alleged confessions of hoaxers, which there's way more than could potentially be involved in, funnily enough. The film remains a cultural touchstone in cryptozoology. Now, there is dispute over the authenticity of this video, but what isn't disputed is that if it is an actual Bigfoot in the Patterson Gimlin film, and what we are seeing is Patty's boobs clearly on display as she majestically walks away from the camera as if filming Bigfoot Baywatch in the opposite direction. That's actually all I got on that one, because it's clear. You can go watch it. That video is fully available.
Yeah, and I always thought that was such a funny, if you want to say funny, and interesting part of the video is why would you make her female of all things? Because
yeah, it makes it harder.
People think of Bigfoot, they think a male.
Yeah, it's kind of like all dogs are boys. All Bigfoots are boys, too.
Yeah, exactly. Like that. So I always thought it was a funny detail, because where else do you see, one, genitals mentioned? Not that they're mentioned, they're just out there on the Patterson.
No, and why would you actually think of like including that too?
Exactly, including that as a detail. I just always found it like a super interesting detail that she was female.
It is just like a clear display. Like the reason I end it there is one, because you've probably seen the footage and you can see very clearly breasts.
Yeah.
But weirdly enough, one of the lesser talking points of the whole footage too.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know unless you've listened to a lot of research about it that would come up just if you've heard about it in passing. Yeah.
Next up is another Bigfoot footage I had never heard of before. It's called the Redwood Incident.
Is there footage of this?
Yes, I have it actually. We're going to watch it once I read this.
If this is on this episode, I'm going to go out on a limb and say no.
Okay. And actually, there's weird parts that kind of work into this as I read the story, but is pure coincidence.
Okay.
In 1995, an alleged Bigfoot was filmed from a vehicle in Jedediah Smith Redwood State Park, California, and what appears to be a slender, tapering, mobile, sickle-shaped penis flexes upwards during the footage. Some writers have even interpreted this as a possible threat display. And the piece of footage is known generally as the Redwoods footage, but the fact that it was filmed by a crew working for the Playboy company who was filming a Playmate at the time, hence is often called the Playboy footage too. It hasn't exactly helped its credibility, but Chelsea, we're gonna watch this film really quick. It's on YouTube, so it's not like that bad.
Is this R? Rated?
I watched it. I can't really see what they're talking about, but apparently when people watching it say that's what you're seeing. I can't tell what's going on. But, oh, yeah, sorry. Right there.
No, I don't.
No, I missed it that time. Sorry. Right there.
Oh, was that a wiener? Ew.
Yeah, it's dangling. Right there.
Ew.
Did you see it? There it is.
I did see that.
Sorry, I didn't actually see that the first time through.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, no comment. I don't know what to say about that. You can't even tell what that is. There's just like a wiener. That's the only thing you can see.
It's very thin.
Yes, it's very thin. Okay, so this is supposed to be Bigfoot? That's literally, you can't even see a Bigfoot on there.
No, and that's that whole thing. It is supposed to be a Bigfoot. It was filmed by people from Playboy, so that's always interesting.
That is always interesting, yeah. Almost in every case. Now,
next up is a man who claims to have been abducted by Bigfoot. Albert Ostman in 1924. He's a Canadian prospector who was camping near Toba Inlet, British Columbia.
Where does this encounter come from?
It's a famous one. I believe there was a Wikipedia article on this one.
Okay. I thought it was like someone specific.
But it's from 1924, so I think there were newspaper articles at the time about this.
I'm just curious because you're calling everyone out on how horrible their genitalia research is.
Yeah, true enough. Actually, the one guy I did find who actually had a sufficient article on this, his name was... Well, it's Tetsu.com is the website.
Tetsu.
And who wrote this? Tetzoo.
Oh, okay.
And the person who wrote this is... Who wrote you? I can't find who wrote this. Anyhow, it gave me a bit of help with this.
Okay.
Albert Ostman, Toba Inlet, British Columbia, while searching for a rumored gold mine, he claimed to have heard local stories about wild men in the area, but didn't take them seriously. One night, Ostman said he was sleeping in a sleeping bag when something lifted him up and carried him away, still inside the bag for several hours. When he was finally dumped out, he found himself in a small mountain basin surrounded by 4 hairy human-like creatures, 2 adults, male and female, and 2 younger ones. Ostman described being held captive for 6 days, and the creatures didn't harm him but prevented him from leaving. He observed their behavior closely. Male was large and muscular, around 8 feet tall. Female was smaller, seemed to gather the food. They ate roots, nuts, and sweetgrass. Communication was limited to grunts and gestures. Ostman believed that they were curious about him but not violent, almost treating him as an oddity. He eventually escaped by tricking the male Sasquatch with a pouch of snuffed tobacco, and the creature tasted it, became sick, and Ostman seized the chance to flee down the mountainside until he reached civilization. Ostman kept the story secret for decades, fearing ridicule. He finally told it publicly in 1957 when Bigfoot interest surged after the Jerry Crew Bluff Creek footprint discovery. I'm sure we've done something about that in the past. His account was recorded by journalist John Green and researcher Rene DeHinden, who found Ostman sincere but couldn't verify the story. Now, while this is all going on, he describes, because he was living with him, he saw the larger male's penis, and he described it as short, about 2 inches long, and hooded with skin. Or according to researcher John Green, following his communications with Ostman, like an inverted funnel, which sounds horse-like.
Wow. That's the most detail we've ever heard about Bigfoot's penis. That's incredible. I've never heard that before.
Next up, and this one comes right from the book Where the Footprints End, Chelsea, and it will come up in another episode I'm planning in the near future.
They're putting in actual details about the genitalia.
Somewhat.
Like some.
Like I said, that first quote I had that put me down this path came from, I didn't say it came from him, but it came from Where the Footprints End, Volume 2.
It's a good book, and I wouldn't say, like, there's an overwhelming a lot of, like, chapters that are just, like, Bigfoot sightings.
Penises.
That kind of, like, it jumps around all over the place. I wouldn't expect it to be in every part in the book, honestly, because there's so much information in the book. And
I don't have a date range for this, but he has this sighting in here. I'm sorry, anybody who's caring, this comes from the book Where the Footprints End, High Strangeness and the Bigfoot Phenomenon, Volume 2, written by Joshua Cutchin and Timothy Renner.
They're good reads. They're really good reads.
They're great reads. And I think we're going to have many episodes from them in the future.
And you can't just read part 1 without part 2, by the way.
No, they came out at the same time. It's actually a weird system, but whatever. Claire, on a business trip to America from the United Kingdom, had some spare time to sightsee near Camel, California. While there, she followed a coastal path to a cove area with the intent of photographing sea otters. She was sitting on some rocks near the beach taking photographs when she began feeling frightened and cold, the hair on her neck standing up. Looking to the other side of the cove, she saw what she assumed was a group of large cats, but soon realized they were too bulky to be felines. According to Claire, they came from the promontory. Have never seen anything like it in my life. Very, very large, very hairy, moving on all fours. There were several of these creatures, one behind the other. It obviously wasn't a cat, because it was moving in a very strange manner. The head kept popping up as if it was sniffing, and then it popped up. It stood up on 2 feet. It was bipedal. It must have been 7 to 8 feet tall. It was followed into this cove by 2 others, maybe 5 to 6 feet, maybe 6.5 foot, and 3 much smaller ones. Claire watched a male, the largest of the creatures, wade into the ocean. The 2 6.5 foot tall creatures, females, and the 3 smallest creatures sat on the beach. The large male was tearing out seaweed and throwing it to the female creatures. Claire observed the females chewing at the root of the seaweed, rubbing it on their chests, and then draping the seaweed over their shoulders. Claire observed observed the group of Bigfoot for a time, stunned at the size of the creature. She reached for a camera, intent on getting a shot of the amazing scene when part of her lens kit fell and hit the rocks. The sound caused the creatures to turn their heads and stare at Claire, suddenly aware of her presence. The male waded out of the water, moving towards Claire. Quote from her, "I have never seen anything move like that in my life. It looked almost as if it was gliding across the beach." End quote. One of the two female creatures followed the large male. The two Bigfoot seemed to have an argument. Quote, "They were screaming at each other in gibberish," end quote, Claire recalled. The male turned back towards Claire, let out a bowling howl, and pounded its fists into the sand. Quote, "The last thing I remember, I was feeling incredibly sick was the thing. Mouth wide open, big pink mouth. It was obviously male. It had an erection, and it was urinating. And that is all I remember." End quote. Claire presumed she passed out at that point. She regained consciousness about 20 yards from her car, with her jacket pulled around her head, black and blue with bruises on her left side and bad scratches on her face. The creature had presumably dragged her back to her vehicle. Her camera and camera bag were missing. Claire returned to her hotel in a daze and assuming she had been the victim of an assault. Hotel employees sat her in a private room and called the police.
See, like, to me, you just can't make something like that up.
It would be an odd thing to add.
Wouldn't it? Like, a lot of that.
Like, if you're trying to make your story sound credible, that just seems like a weird addition.
I agree with that. These are incredible sightings. I really gotta say, what an excellent collection you've got here.
If you're going to fake it, you pick one, erect or urinating. Yeah. You don't pick both.
It's true.
Like we've said, most sightings are of males, but that doesn't mean that's the only genitals we're seeing. I know we did Patty before. I had to start that off because that's the most famous, but there are female genital sightings for Bigfoot as well. In November of 1968, hunter John Thomas is said to have encountered two Bigfoot sleeping out in the open. They were in the posture that, curiously enough, had been described on several occasions by witnesses. That is, limbs partially folded beneath the body and the back facing upwards. Anyway, one of these animals had breasts in addition to a swelling in its genital region that kept rubbing. Without more information, it's difficult to know the story here. Presumably, we're talking about a modest swelling of the sort seen in various primates and not the pronounced striking structures seen in chimps, bonobos, and various monkeys.
Interesting addition there. I wouldn't know the difference, to be honest with you. I probably wouldn't have noticed a swelling.
Yeah, fair.
I don't know. I can't tell you. I've never seen this, so maybe I would notice a swelling. I don't know.
That's the whole thing. Like, they just describe it as swelling, so it's hard to say, like, what they mean by that.
Yeah, but this guy says it could be a different type of swelling for a different primate.
Yeah, different apes have different swelling that happens in the genital region.
Okay.
Now, a second case actually has to do with what's considered a Bigfoot butt print, left in sandy soil in Walla Walla, Washington.
Were there nuts?
The print was cast by Paul Freeman, an individual with a controversial track record in the world of Bigfoot evidence, shall we say, and passed to Jeff Meldrum, who described it in his 2006 book. The print revealed well-demarcated muscular buttocks, but also what appears to be the suggestion of a labia. With a bit of imagination, they look from the cast of the impression to be quite similar in form or proportion to those of a human.
Wow. With a bit of imagination. I love these guys. I would love a copy of this butt print.
I did not know it existed until I went looking for genital. One of those things. There's apparently a lot of Bigfoot evidence out there that just, like, we don't know about because nobody wants to talk about this.
Nobody wants to talk about it. But we do. So thank you for being here with us as we discuss this very interesting topic. We're the specialists on the forefront of this research. Self-proclaimed.
That ends it here for my actual, like, sighting parts. I found a very unique Bigfoot variant that exists in the world, and it's called a box. B-O-Q-S. Have you ever heard of this, Chelsea?
No. Should I Google Bigfoot box?
No, there's no pictures out there. It's not going to help you in any way, and it is fairly obscure. But it's your neck of the woods. It's a hairy humanoid told in legends of North America tribes such as the Nuksulk, the Chinook, and the Salish peoples in the Pacific Northwest. The attitude of mingled hope and fear with which the Bellicula regard their supernatural anthropomorphic beings is typical of their thoughts and actions concerning zoomorphic creatures as well. In the supernatural world, the dividing line between humans and animals beings is not clearly defined. Fabulous creatures have the mentality of supermen and can be appeased, besought, or cajoled precisely as are anthropomorphic beings. Like those in human form, supernatural animals can bestow good or evil on human beings with whom they come into contact. The box somewhat resemble a man. Its hands, especially in the regions around the eyes, being distinctly human. It walks on its hind legs in a stooping posture, its long arms swinging below the knees. In height, it is rather less than the average man. The entire body except the face is covered with long hair, and the growth being most profuse on the chest, which is large, corresponding to the great strength of the animal. The most peculiar feature of the animal is its penis, which is so long that it must be rolled up and carried in the arms when the creature is walking. It terrifies its enemies by striking tree trunks and breaking branches with its uncoiled organ.
Wow.
It is said that a woman was once drawing water at the edge of the stream when a box, concealed on shore, extended its penis under the water to the further bank and held intercourse with her. The contact rendered her powerless, as if turned to stone. She could neither flee nor remove the organ. Her companion tried to unsuccessfully cut the organ until one of them brought a salberry leaf, whereupon the monster, dreading its razor-like edge, withdrew. The following stories illustrate better than any other description the attitude of the Bellicula towards these animals. Not many years ago, a certain Cacklus was encamped with his wife and child in the Bay of the Thousand Islands, Altuqualaxus, and I do apologize for my pronunciation of this stuff, about 2 miles above Namu, one of the haunts of the box. He heard a number of the creatures in the forest behind him and seized his gun, at the same time calling out to them to go away. Instead of breaking the branches and beating upon tree trunks, came nearer. So, that's the penis right there. Becoming alarmed, he called out once more, "Go away, or you shall feel my power." They still approached, and the Cacklus fired in the direction of the sounds. There followed a wild commotion in the forest, roars, grunts, poundings, and the breaking of branches. Oh man, I'm sorry, just when they're making these descriptions of everything going on, keep in mind that it's penis related.
Yeah, I'm picturing him like a lasso above his head.
Yeah, I know. That's how I do it too. The hunter, now thoroughly alarmed, told his wife and child to embark in the canoe while he covered their retreat with his gun. He followed them without molestation and anchored his craft not far from the shore. The box could be heard plainly as they rushed to and fro on the beach, but only the vague outlines of their form were visible in the darkness. Presently, though there was no wind, the canoe began to roll as if in a heavy sea. Cacklus decided to flee to the Restoration Bay, but before he had gone far, his paddle struck bottom. Although he was in mid-channel, looking up, he saw that the mountains were higher than usual. The box had, by their supernatural power, raised the whole area so that the water had been almost entirely drained away. They are the only supernatural beings with this power. Cacklus jumped overboard in the water, which reached only to his knees, and towed his canoe to Restoration Bay, the box following him along the shore. This is not the only occasion on which box have appeared near Restoration Bay. Within the lifetime of the father of an informant, a chief set out with some friends from Quatna bound for Namu. They traveled overland to the Restoration Bay, thence by canoe, making the journey without incident. When returning, they decided to gather clams on the rocky point of the bay. As the craft shot around the tip of the promontory, they saw a box gathering shellfish. The paddlers backed their canoes behind some rocks once they could watch without being seen. The creature acted as if frightened. It kept looking backwards and then hurriedly scraped up some clams with its forepaws. Oh, that's good they don't hunt with the penis. Dashed off with these into the forest. And came back for more. The chief decided to attack the animal. A frontal approach was impossible owing to the lack of cover, so he landed and crept stealthily through the forest armed with his Hudson's Bay Company's musket. Presently, he stumbled upon a heap of clams which the animal had collected. He waited until it returned with another load, and then raised his musket and fired. Instead of killing the box, its supernatural power was so great that the hunter's musket burst in his hand, though he himself was not injured. The box shrieked and whistled as if in anger, and at once hordes of his mates came dashing out through the forest. The frightened chief rushed out on the beach and called to his comrades to save him. They brought the canoe close to the shore so that he could clamber aboard, and they paddled away unharmed. The Bellicula believe that the box, unlike most supernatural animals, have not abandoned the country since the coming of the white man. One man was most insistent that they lived on King Island and promised to point one out if a visit were made to that spot. The man refuses to camp on the place where he affirmed box are common. Another informant stated that though he had never seen one of the monsters, a horde of them surrounded his camp near Canoe Crossing for a week. Every night he heard them roar roaring and beating on trees and branches. A curious blending of old and new beliefs was recorded in connection with the statement. This man remarked that once he was gathering firewood when he heard the creatures closing in on him. His head swam with terror until he remembered he was a Christian. He called to Jesus to help him, grasped his axe, and dashed towards the place from which the loudest sounds were coming. He heard the animals moving off all around him, but failed to see any of them. Bocks have been heard as recently as 1924, according to popular belief. In January of that year, a number of young Bella Coola were returning home in a motorboat from Ocean Falls, and they camped for the night on Burke Channel. They were alarmed to hear a crashing of bushes and a beating of tree trunks. Thoroughly frightened, they directed the beams of several electric torches in that direction of the sound, without avail, and at last started the engine of their motor, and the noises of which frightened the animals away. Now, these accounts came from the field notes of Franz Boas and George Hunt, two of the most influential ethnographers to ever work in the Pacific Northwest. They were documenting the world as the Nuksulk and their neighbors understood it. The stories people told, the beings they believed, lived in the forests and rivers, and the experiences their elders passed down. Tucked into this notebook, sometimes as a quick line, sometimes longer recollections, are descriptions of wild, hairy figures that later scholars grouped under the name The Box. What stands out is how consistent the details are. Tall, human-shaped, long-armed, skittish, and one very clear feature is genitals so long they had to be carried, coiled, or held out of the way.
That just seems inconvenient.
This isn't meant as a joke for the tradition either. In these traditions, exaggerated anatomy is a way of marking something as not human. It's a visual cue, the same way that you describe a creature with glowing eyes or backwards feet. The detail explains how the beings move, why it runs awkwardly. It's simply part of what made this creature.
Interesting insight. And it makes me think back to all reports of like tree knocking and stuff with Bigfoot. Nobody's witnessed it. We don't know what they're knocking on the trees or houses with.
It brings a whole new meaning to that. And if somebody did notice, are they actually going to say it?
That's true. I mean, you've already seen a Bigfoot. Do you want to say it's knocking on trees with its penis?
With its massive lasso-like
It was
penis.
massive. It was actually over his shoulder, and then he was knocking on the tree with it.
Actually, when they're saying that these things are like knocking things over or making marks so high that it seems impossible.
We got the answer here.
It might have 10 extra feet of length to work with here.
This had never occurred to me that that's what it could be. Like,
It's wild.
and it does bring a whole new supernatural element to it. I've never heard that take on it. That's interesting.
That's the part where I have to call out Hammerson Peters on, because he has to have come by this story at some point.
And he just didn't want to share it.
He does a ton of work in this part of the world, and I could find nothing. Sorry, I found 2 references to genitals or penis on his website, neither of which was the story. They were very brief. And they had to do with like Christian beliefs and a giant somewhere, but they weren't that important to include here.
Oh.
But yeah, I'm going to keep it there.
Oh, you're going to have a follow-up?
I feel like I might have a follow-up in the future, as I could get this together in 36 hours. What can I do with a bit more prep time?
Hold on. I'm going to share my screen. This is the ass print.
Oh, huh.
It looks particularly hairy.
It does. What was it sitting on? Where is the ass print?
This seems to be a cheek.
Chelsea, did you know before this episode there was an ass print of
I had
Bigfoot?
no idea. I honestly want to get it tattooed.
On your ass.
Right over my ass. It's beautiful. I just had to share this with you.
What I'm left with is that there is clearly more out there. Like, this is just a brief Bigfoot episode put together fairly quickly on their genitals. And there has to be more out there, because you can find mention that it's mostly males that are seen, which leads people to believe that it's being referenced more than what I just said. Because you couldn't gather they're mostly male from like 5 sightings.
But me and you both know that it's not out there. Though we have had it come up in a sighting. I think it's been one, because we both freaked out over it. And we're so happy that somebody... And I can't remember what episode it was in. It was a recent one. It was this year. before. It was this season.
Oh, it was one of the Mothmen, wasn't it?
Was it Mothman? It could have been a Mothman. Could have been Crawler. Was it Crawler?
Could have been a crawler.
It
Let's
might
not
be.
speculate too much.
Yeah.
But in the end, this is a very important part of the whole story that is just neglected. And I'm glad I could shine some light on a neglected part of this world.
I, for one, am very grateful for that. You're right. Why haven't we covered this before?
Why doesn't anybody know about the box? And why is Bella Kula not using it as its official mascot?
It's true, like Turkmenistan. I just feel like it's like a taboo topic, I think, still, for people to be bringing it up. And we'll do the legwork for you guys. We'll not put it so much in the mainstream, but we'll talk about it so that you guys feel more comfortable putting it in your sightings. Because they might not be asking you for it, but it's important.
But I do also get it. Like, if there's a bear sighting, nobody asks about the penis.
That's
but it's
true.
because we know enough about the bear penis.
It's true. We know.
It's been scientifically studied. It's got a bone.
And bears aren't specifically named Bear Man. Like, it's not specifically because there's only males, which leads you to believe there's only bear males, which means that people have only sighted penises. You see what we're getting at? Instead, bears, we just don't say their name.
We lose it to time because it might have been brown penis.
Exactly.
That's probably a good spot to end it. I've been Taylor, here with Chelsea. We are Journey to the Fringe. Thank you all for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Journey to the Fringe. If you have liked what you have listened to, please like, share, subscribe, or follow, depending on what venue you are listening to us through. Also, please, if possible, leave a 5-star review, as that really helps us in the algorithms. Should you wish to interact with us, please check us out on your social media of choice. I bet you we are there. And if you really want to communicate with us and give us ideas for new episodes, or tell us that we're wrong and terrible, either way, please send us an email at journeytothefringe@gmail.com. For now, I'll see you in the next episode.